iFILM, London. iFILM, London.
This is Coogan Cassius for iFILM London. We're at the Ivory Rooms here in Billericay, and with me, I am actually in the presence of greatness. The original Lionel Messi, Matthew TISSIER. How are you, sir?
I'm very good, thanks, mate. Great to be here.
Yeah. You've come to the Ivory Rooms today to give a talk and a dinner. Is this something that you've been doing recently, Matthew?
Yeah, I've been doing a bit of after dinner speaking for a few years now. Obviously, I'm not doing the cooking, but we'll have a bit of a crack tonight. Maybe take a few questions from people if they want to throw a few questions at me. Have a bit of a Q&A session and just have a bit of fun, really.
Now, Matthew, I'm 30 years old, and I followed you in your prime. I'm an Arsenal fan, but I mean, 19 other clubs in the Premiership couldn't get away from the stuff that you was doing every week and winning goal of the month literally every month. And you know, where do you start, Matt? I mean, you must get this a lot. Obviously, you've scored some of the greatest goals ever scored in the Premier League. If the Premier League had a top 10 of greatest goals, you'd probably have a good 4 or 5 in there, wouldn't you agree?
Well, they did have to celebrate the 20 years of the Premier League. They did a top 10 shortlist, and I had a couple of them in the top 10, so that was nice. I was the only one who had more than one in there. Didn't come in any of the top 3, but it was nice to actually get a couple in there. So yeah, I had some great times at Southampton, and you know, scored a few from outside the box, which always catch people's eye. But you know, it was just great fun, and loved me time as a professional footballer.
Obviously, you was a one-club man throughout your career at Southampton. Obviously, people are going to ask, it's always going to be talked about, why you never moved on. Why is it you never moved on and decided that Southampton was the place for you to be for all that time?
Well, I love it down there, to be honest with you. It's a brilliant place. They were great to me, you know, and I just felt like as long as I was playing in the top flight of English football, as long as I was playing against the best players all the time, then I didn't feel any need to move on, really, to be honest. And had we got relegated, I might have had to have had a decision to make. But thankfully, during my time there, we managed to stay in the Premier League the whole time. So I didn't have to make that tough decision.
I was talking about your goals. You scored a lot of memorable goals, particularly the 2 against Newcastle at the Dell, which people will always talk about.
Yeah.
One of my personal favourites, I think it was against Aston Villa, the flick up from the volley and sort of a lazy swing that went into the top corner. Do you know what goal I'm talking about?
I think that was I think it was a free kick that was rolled back to me. Is that the one you're talking about? It was against Wimbledon.
Wimbledon,
yeah. We worked on that kind of the day before in training, and I'd never really. I had a few goes at it the day before. A couple went in, but a load went in the trees behind our training ground, and I wasn't really thinking about it. And when the free kick got given, Jim Magilton, who was playing with me, I was going to try and bend it in straight away, and he went, "Why don't we try the free kick that we tried yesterday?" And I thought, go on then, let's have a go. So I did it, flew in the top corner, and I never tried it again. I don't know why, but I had a 1 out of 100% record with that free kick.
Funny you should say that, because at school, on the Monday morning, I tried it myself in the 10-15 break period,
Yeah.
and it didn't really come off. It went that way, into the trees, away. I think we lost the ball.
I can't believe that. I actually lost a couple of balls the day before, to be honest with you, so you're in good company.
Matthew, we've got the... Can I call you Matthew? Is that all right?
Matt's fine.
Matt's fine. Okay, Matt. Euros coming up with England, obviously. We see you every Saturday debating the ins and outs of what's going on. How do you feel this preparation has gone for Roy Hodgson? Obviously, he's had 3 key players missing for injury. He's had to bring 3 reserve in. Is this squad really good enough to go semis, maybe the final?
Well, I mean, you'd probably look at the squad and think it's not as strong as what we've had in the last probably 3 or 4 tournaments, where we've actually fancied ourselves a little bit and thought that we'd do well and haven't really. So maybe the fact that, you know, the expectations aren't that high is perhaps a good thing for the players, and maybe we'll see, you know, England playing a little bit more freer, more fluid football where players aren't under so much pressure.
Who's the key players for you? If you can name me 2 key players, who would you say they were for us in the Euros?
Well, I think obviously Wayne Rooney's going to be missing the first couple of games, so that's going to be difficult. Once he's back in the side, he's the key player. You know, he's the one that will maybe do something a little bit different and can win you a game from nothing. If you look at the other players in that kind of mould, then if Theo Walcott is on form, he's a real handful. If he plays Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, I think he could be a threat to other teams. Don't think he'll start him in games, but as a impact player, he can be very useful. And the captain, Stephen Gerrard, is somebody who can influence games from the centre of midfield. So there are players there. Ashley Young is in good form for England. He's scored some good goals, recent internationals, and assisted in goals as well. So there are players who can win us matches, whether they hit form or not at the right time. And if they do, then sure, we can get to the semi-finals, and from that point, anything can happen.
One of the biggest scandals in football ever is how you only won 8 caps at international career. Matt, I mean, looking back on it now, obviously, it's something that no one's ever really been able to answer. Why is it you felt like you wasn't given, obviously, the right chance by the right managers? Or
yeah, I was probably not given that many chances, to be honest. I only started 3 games, I think it was, and one of those got abandoned with crowd trouble in the Republic of Ireland. So not really a great amount of chances. I had 5 other appearances as a substitute, and so that was kind of a bit disappointing, to be honest, from my point of view. But I was still very proud to have, I'm the first person ever from Guernsey who's gone on to win a full England cap. So that's something that I'm incredibly proud of. And yeah, it was only 8 caps, but I was incredibly proud of every single one of them.
Well, I didn't mean that. You know what way I meant that. Obviously, I meant that in a thing where, watching you and watching all these players get called up for England. And
there were other players. I mean, around the time that I was kind of in good form, there were a lot of other English players around that were also in good form at the same time. And the competition for places, I would say, was so much harder back then than it is now. When you consider the amount of players that Roy Hodgson now has to pick from for an England squad, it's not that great. And if you were to take this squad back 15 years, 20 years, and say, well, how many of those players now would have gotten in the England squad at that time in terms of the forward players, you might be thinking, when you look at the likes of Shearer, you had Teddy Sheringham, you had Les Ferdinand, you had Robbie Fowler, Ian Wright barely got a game for England, and top quality goal scorers, and so the competition, Gazza was around when I was playing, and so competition for places was a lot hotter back then than I think it is now.
Can you tell us a little bit about what you've been up to? Obviously, we know you're on the Sports Saturday on Sky. What else have you been up to apart from these dinner speeches?
I play a lot of golf. I love me golf, so I'll probably play that 2 or 3 times a week. I go back to Guernsey quite a bit to see my family back there, so that takes up a bit of time. And I've got a 3-year-old daughter as well, so she takes a bit of looking after, and so that's kind of my time, and this kind of stuff kind of fills in between the soccer Saturdays and the midweek soccer specials.
Has Paul Merson got to calm down a little bit? The last day was absolutely brilliant.
It was awesome. My game had finished when all the stuff happened, so I was watching the game the same as him, and it was just an unbelievable finish to a Premier League. One I don't think we will ever see in the history of the Premier League ever again. I really can't see a finish like that ever happening, where a team scores twice in injury time to nick the Premier League title.
Would you say it was more dramatic than Michael Thomas back in '89?
Oh, much more dramatic. I know Michael Thomas was one goal in the last minute or 2. You're an Arsenal fan, aren't you? Yeah.
1 minute, 1 minute.
But the fact that it was 2 in stoppage time, where they also nicked it off of obviously their local rivals. I just think that the storyline was incredible, and for me it was more dramatic than Michael Thomas's. Though I must admit, watching that game that night was unbelievable. And at the time, I thought, wow, the league championship will never be settled in a more dramatic way than that. But I think it has been.
Can you still do the same skills you were doing like 10 years ago? I haven't got a ball here. If I did, I would let you see. But can you, if you
still keep it up? I can still keep a ball up, but no, I've played in a couple of charity matches this year, and I think the people at those games will probably tell you that you do lose it a little bit. I try and have a little run out now and then, but it's not quite the same. And when you're carrying about 2 stone more than you were when you were playing, it makes it a bit trickier.
Also, a penalty expert, you think you took 48 and scored 47 out of them?
Yeah, I like penalties. Yeah, I enjoyed taking them, and I was lucky that I was given a mentality that meant I did actually look forward to it, and I wasn't fazed by having to take him in front of full stadiums away from home, where you know stepping up to that ball that 95% of the people in that stadium want you to miss. But I just love scoring goals, and so for me a penalty was the easiest chance I was going to get to score.
All right, Matt, sorry. Thank you very much for talking to iFILM London. I regret you never joined Arsenal. I think you and Bergkamp could have been quite some combination up there.
You know, I was a Spurs fan as a boy, didn't you?
I'm an Arsenal fan, so these have been directed fully, through the Arsenal. But Matthew, thank you very much for talking to us. The Ivory Rooms here is a fantastic venue. Mark Peters is hosting. A lot of people have obviously got a lot of the same questions I've probably got, and it's going to be a fun night.
Yeah, it should be a fun night, and hopefully everyone will go away this evening with maybe a smile on their face, having a good laugh and a nice night out.
All right, Matt TISSIER, thank you very much for talking to us, and we'll have a good night.
Pleasure, mate. Cheers.
Thank you very much, and follow us on Twitter, Matt.
Oh, okay.
At iFILM London.
At iFILM London.
We already follow you.
Back in the car.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, mate.
Love.